Howdy, this is the Views from the Shop podcast. I'm your host, your one and only host, Tim Miller, and today it is Friday. It is Friday, November 1st, 2024, and I wish you a very, very, very happy National Cook for Your Pets Day. Today's show is exclusively presented by CBB Analytics. Get there before the season starts. You can sign up for a free account to get access to some of the stats that many major Division I and other college basketball programs are using, both on the men's and women's side. And you can sign up for a paid account to get access to all the stats that they have as well. We are packed as Pat gets. If you're looking on YouTube, this is a stack right here. If you're listening on podcast, that's a heavy stack of papers. We got notes upon notes upon notes because this is the 2024 Views from the Shop podcast season predictions special. We're predicting it all. We're predicting the entirety of the Ohio State men's basketball schedule because there's just so much skill in that. Not only that, what else do we have here? Well, we've got some superlatives for Ohio State basketball. We've got some Big Ten awards. We got All-Americans we're predicting. We got a Final Four and a national champion we're predicting as well. Will it be Ohio State? Well, you'll have to listen to the end of the show to find out. Now, I know a lot of you may be wondering, because it is decision day for Darryn Peterson, what's going on with Darryn Peterson. I'm going to share some thoughts that I have very briefly here, but before I do that, please subscribe to the Views from the Shop podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Please subscribe on YouTube as well. Just click it right now. It's so easy. Click subscribe and click like if you're watching on YouTube. That helps the show, which helps you, because what's good for the show is what's good for you. An ancient proverb, I believe, is what that is. Now, also, like the tweet that sent out this episode. If you are here because you're subscribed, thank you for that, and you didn't see the tweet, that's fine. Please go like it. It helps out a lot as well. So please do that. I would appreciate it. Okay, let's talk to Darryn Peterson just very briefly. So I think that right now, and I have reached out to several. I have reached out to not everyone, but most everyone who I know can help me in this regard to understand what's going on with Darryn Peterson. And you know what I've heard? Either nothing or a little bit and no definitive answer. So here's what I can tell you with certainty. Right now, I'm recording this early Friday morning. I have not received any word that a decision from Darryn Peterson has been made, and I believe that Ohio State is working around the clock right now to finalize some kind of NIL agreement with Darryn Peterson to get him to Columbus. Is Kansas still the lead? I believe that Kansas is still the lead for Darryn Peterson, but Ohio State is working hard. Jake Diebler is working hard. He visited Darryn Peterson at his home this week as well, which means that they're still in it. I would bet my bottom dollar that it's going to be Kansas or Ohio State. I think that there's a hopeful optimism, very still optimism from Ohio State's camp that they can make something work. Here's what I'll tell you, though. I have not heard any definitive statements about where Darryn Peterson is going. I believe that the decision has still not been made. As of the time that I'm recording, I believe that neither Ohio State nor Kansas know where Darryn Peterson is going. I believe when the week started, Kansas felt really good about getting Darryn Peterson. I believe now they feel less good about getting Darryn Peterson. If I don't get a response from a certain few people, it means one of two things. One, it's not good news and they don't want to share it. And two, they're still working on it, so they don't have an answer. So I'm guessing with some smoke right now, Ohio State's working on this. Darryn Peterson will commit tonight, I believe 9 Eastern, which is a wild time. You're committing on a Friday night at 9 Eastern? Go off, Darryn. That's when we'll find out. I'm not going to be the guy to be tweeting the eyeball emojis. I'm not going to be the guy doing the engagement farming. I'm not posting GIFs. I'm not doing anything like that. If I hear anything, I don't even know if I'll share. If it's worth sharing, I will. That's what I'll share in terms of podcast form right now. So that's what I've got on Darryn Peterson. But today's show, presented thankfully by CBB Analytics, is about predictions. I've got a bunch of notes here, and we're gonna run through Ohio State basketball. It's a prediction show. By the way, last housekeeping. We're 5 minutes in. Come on, we gotta get cranking here. It's gonna be a long show. Sunday, 7 Eastern. We're going to be live on YouTube. The first ever Views from the Shop podcast live show where we are going to preview Texas. It's going to be a big show. It's going to be a great time, and I need you there. So make plans now. Make sure you remember, mark it in your phone, set a reminder, put it in your calendar, write it on your hand. If you don't wash your hands, that's fine because we're 2 days away. Doesn't matter. Make sure you're there. It's going to be a big show. All right. Now, let's get into some predictions. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm literally going to go game by game. I'm going to give a few notes on each game into why I'm picking a game a certain way. And then I'm going to move on to the next one because we've got a lot to cover today. So let's go through the schedule for Ohio State men's basketball. This is my official predictions, which are subject to change at any time. This Texas prediction that I have, it could change on Sunday. You'll have to watch the show to find out. All right. So I tweeted this week, right? I think it was this week. DraftKings came out with a line for Ohio State versus Texas on DraftKings. Texas is favored by 2.5 points. Ohio State is plus money by just a little bit. I don't know if that has even changed. While we're here, we might as well figure that out. And while I figure that out, I'll give you some other thoughts on this game. So number one, I believe that Texas is going to be really, really good this year. They're number 18 in Ken Palm. They're number 11 in Bart Torvik. And I'm sorry, I need to type in Ohio State really quickly on DraftKings. We're going to hit search. We're going to go to, yeah. So this line has not really moved at all. 87% of bets are on Texas right now, and this line hasn't moved. So either one, there's not a lot of money on it, not enough for DraftKings to move this because they would like the ratio to be 70-30 or closer. Or number two, DraftKings likes where it's at. Maybe DraftKings feels like Ohio State has a good chance to win this game. I saw the 2.5 spread. I thought Texas would be favored 3.5, 4.5, something like that. So that's a good sign for Ohio State, maybe. I don't know. But a lot of other people reacting. The money's coming in on Texas. There's still a lot of time for that line to move. So no big deal at that point. But Texas is still favored by 2.5 points. You've got Kendall Weaver. He's got the experience. Likely not going to be a huge impact player for Texas this year. More so, Arthur Kamula. Trey Johnson comes in as a freshman, and a bunch of seniors on this team. It feels like Texas is going to be the team that's more ready for day one than an Ohio State type of team. I'm going to take Texas to win this game. I'm going to have a very in-depth preview of this game coming up on Sunday. Will my opinion change? We'll find out. I've got Ohio State dropping the first game of the year to Texas. I think it'll be close. I think we'll see some points in the game. I saw the total. That's a lot of freaking points. I don't know if I'm willing to take the over on that. We'll see when the Banger Bets come out. First edition of Banger Bets on the Texas preview show. I've got Ohio State losing to Texas starting the year 0-1. Then you get Youngstown State. It's the first home game for Ohio State. Youngstown State is inside, barely just inside the top 200 in both Ken Palm and in Bart Torvik rankings. So not a horrible team. They really don't return a lot, though. And that's kind of an issue for a team like Youngstown State. When you are a mid-major to low-major team, you'd like to return a lot of talent and be a pretty good team to have a chance to beat a team like Ohio State. Their top two scorers are gone, and just 20.8% of minutes from last year return. So not a lot. It's the first home game for Ohio State. It's a middle-of-pack Horizon League team. I'm taking the Buckeyes to win. I don't really think that that's going to be all that controversial. So the Buckeyes pick up their first one of the year against Youngstown State. Then they've got to go to College Station to take on Texas A&M. That'll be a Friday night game. I went back and forth on my prediction for this game. It may change for that game. Texas A&M, number 16 in Ken Palm, number 12 in Bart Torvik. So pretty snugly better than Ohio State when it comes to the analytics right now, at least preseason. They're extremely strong offensively. You've got Wade Taylor there. He's a 3-time All-SEC player. He's a superstar. And he's got some really, really good numbers as well for Texas A&M. in previous games. 41 points in a game last season, 9 assists is his career high. He made 6 3-pointers in a game twice last season, and yet again he's preseason all SEC as well. So you expect him to be a really good player. They've got good support though. Henry Coleman, Anderson Garcia, Jace Carter, they'll be good contributors as well. It comes down to Wade Taylor. Can Ohio State guard and shut down Wade Taylor? The thing that scares me is that they're going to return a bunch of minutes, 19th in the country in terms of returning minutes this season, and that's the highest of any team on Ohio State's schedule. No team returns more minutes than Texas A&M on Ohio State's schedule. This game could be a barn burner. Both offenses getting hot. Defenses maybe not the best. Texas A&M is undersized, and I think that can be a key matchup, especially there in the front court. If Aaron Bradshaw can space out, the Buckeyes are going to have a good chance to win this game. And I've been back and forth. I think Ohio State has better size. I think Ohio State, this is a type of pace of game and style of game that bodes well for them. They're going to feel at home here playing Texas A&M, even though it is in College Station. And for that reason, I'm going to take the Buckeyes to beat Texas A&M in this one and improve to 2-1. Then we've got Evansville. Ohio State takes on Evansville. That's another team outside the top 200 in KenPom and Bart Torvik rankings. Bart Torvik, by the way, fantastic site. I used it a little bit last year. Going to use it all this year. They're another team not returning a lot, and I don't really think they have like the Jack Golke type from Oakland who can just spray some threes and keep you in a game. I don't think they have that. I don't sense this is a team that can really make a bunch of threes anyway, based on the research that I've done on Evansville. So I've got the Buckeyes winning this game pretty easily. And then they've got Campbell. That should be another win as well. I'm going to take Ohio State to win. Campbell looks at Evansville, says, oh, you're outside the top 200. Well, look at us. We're outside the top 300. How cool is that? So I think Ohio State will beat Campbell pretty easily. Campbell is projected to go 11-20. According to Bart Torvik, that's not really great. They've got a lot of juniors and seniors, though, so that will bode well for them. Ohio State should beat Campbell. Then they've got Green Bay. Consensus between KenPom and Bart Torvik is pretty crazy at times. 309th in KenPom is Green Bay. 300th in Bart Torvik is Green Bay. This should be a 90-plus point game for Ohio State. If you've got a prop bet, if you can find anything where Ohio State scores its most points in a game this season, I'm going to take it against Green Bay. Now, Doug Gottlieb, he may make some changes and make this a better defensive team. We'll see. This is not analytically a highly rated defensive team that Ohio State will be playing. So I'm going to take the Buckeyes to beat Green Bay and beat Green Bay pretty convincingly, you could say. 30, 40-point win. That's what you'd like to see. Buckeyes score 90, maybe 100 points in this game. All right. Pitt. Do you hear that? Do you hear that sound, by the way? There's some rustling. There's some people just sitting down and unzipping some jackets, grabbing their seats here, kind of having to, sidestep in between 10 people in a row just to finally find their seat. They're late, and that's okay. Those are the people who have been so into Ohio State football or so into other sports or hobbies or anything like that they haven't paid a bunch of attention to Ohio State basketball, and that's okay. That's why we're here. If you haven't been paying a lot of attention to Ohio State basketball, you may be looking at this game against Pitt and say, well, that should be an easy win. I'd say not so fast. So Pitt is number 37 in KenPom, number 50 in Bart Torvik. So they're seen as a fringe bubble team as of right now. But this is not going to be an easy win for Ohio State. You're not walking into this game and seeing Pitt on the schedule and saying, oh, that's a nice non-conference game. It's at Columbus. Cool. They'll win this game easily. I'll grab tickets to go. Sure. Look, they return exactly half of their production from last season, and even as a younger team, they're not going to have to rely on a bunch of transfers or anything like that. This is a pretty similar team to last year, even with losing a fair amount of production. You keep a lot of the major players on this team. And if that's the case, and this has been a 20-win team in each of the past 2 seasons under Jeff Capel, there's not really any reason to expect Ohio State's going to go blow out Pitt in this game. This is going to be another good offensive team, another questionable defensive team. That's kind of a trend for Ohio State's early part of the schedule. They've got Ishmael Leggett. He should lead the way. Athletic group is Pitt as well. And I think that Ohio State isn't necessarily going to have issues matching up with Pitt in this one. So I'm going to take the Buckeyes to win. And just like that, you're out of November and you drop the game to Texas, but you're sitting at 6-1 with a win over Pitt and Texas A&M as well. That's a pretty good November. And that's where I slot Ohio State as of right now. So let's get into December. They're going to kick off Big Ten play and December with Maryland. They'll go to Maryland. I've got Ohio State winning in this one as well, starting the Big Ten season 1-0. Maryland is 38th in Ken Palm. They're 49th in Bart Torvik. Julian Reese is still there. Jacoby Gillespie still there. They bring in Selton Miguel from, I want to say UCF. I could be wrong about that. Derek Queen, big-time freshman player. Obviously, this should be a very good defensive team. That's kind of been the knack for Maryland over the past few years. And I don't think that Maryland has a talented roster across the board to beat Ohio State. Early in the season, late in the season, doesn't really matter to me. I think the Buckeyes go to Maryland, pick up a road conference victory over the Terrapins. Then they're going to welcome Rutgers to Columbus. Remember 2 years ago, Ohio State, was it my birthday? I don't think it was my birthday, but it was in December. Ohio State and Buckeye legend Tanner Holden hit a buzzer beater to sink Rutgers. What a fun game that was. In this one, Ohio State will face Rutgers. Rutgers is 23rd in Ken Palm and 19th in Bart Torvik. What the heck's going on there? The computers are arguing with one another. I'm not getting in the middle of that. I would lean much closer to Bart Torvik if I had to choose one in terms of is this an NCAA tournament team or is this a team that's going to obviously be playing in the NIT? I'm leaning closer to an NCAA tournament team. The defense, again, will be a strength for Rutgers. You've got Ace Bailey. You've got Dylan Harper stepping in now. 2 top freshmen coming into play for the Scarlet Knights. And I think that they're going to lead Rutgers from day one. These should be your 2 top contributors on the team. Ohio State's hosting Rutgers. Something about this game doesn't feel right. And I've got the Buckeyes losing at home to Rutgers. So they'll go to 1-1 in Big Ten play. And coming up next, they're going to have Auburn. It's a neutral site game, quote, unquote, neutral site game, playing freaking Atlanta. Go ahead and call that neutral site all you want. It's not neutral site. Auburn is number 3 in Ken Palm, number 7 in Bart Torvik, so they're easily seen as a Final Four contender as of right now. Call it a neutral site game. I'm going to call it a pure away game. That's fine. Not Mobley. Now we're thinking of Junie Mobley for some reason. Sorry, Janai Broomy, preseason All-American player. All major contributors are going to be seniors for Auburn this upcoming year. They've also got a top 30 freshman coming in Tahad Pettiford, if that pronunciation is okay. This is going to be a team that could raise a trophy in April. And I think Ohio State's still going to be figuring things out at this point in early December. So I've got Auburn beating Ohio State on what is well known at this point in the college basketball world as the best day of the year in college basketball schedule-wise. Then Ohio State's going to return home. They're going to take on Valpo. So you probably can't call this a trap game. Valpo is 226 Ken Palm, 256 Bart Torvik. You probably can't call it a trap game. You've got the Deeps relationship. Jake Diebler, obviously, with his former team in Valpo, coming to Columbus. This team should know that. They're going to know there's a little extra incentive in winning this game. They're going to want to win that game for their coach. I get that. But this is a little trappy. This is a little trappy. On a scale from 1 to 10, I'd give this like a 7.5 out of 10 in terms of trappiness. It's a classic look-ahead spot because you got to go play Kentucky after this at Madison Square Garden. It's also right in between Auburn and Kentucky. So, again, you're focused all on Auburn. If you lose that game, now you're like, man, we got to go get it against Kentucky. And this game is on, I think, December 17th. This game with 100% certainty, though, even if I don't know the exact date, is going to be played when students are gone. So will the environment be a little sleepy? I think this is like some random Tuesday game or something like that. Is this going to be a sleepy atmosphere? Plus, Valpo has a young man by the name of Isaiah Stafford, averaged 17 points per game last season. Mid-range savant. He can hit some threes, but he's much better inside the three-point line. And he scored 30 points against Illinois last year. So he stepped up in one of those trap games where you could classically look ahead. He stepped up and played well. And the formula, part of the formula to upsetting a team in November, December, when you have a low major team facing a power conference team, You need a superstar to pour in a bunch of points. Can Isaiah Stafford do that? So, you know what? No, I'm upgrading this to a fair 8.5 on the upset, tricky trap game special spectrum is what we'll call it. 8.5. I do have the Buckeyes winning, though. That's a sneaky one, though. That will be sneaky. All right, Ohio State has Kentucky after Valpo. They're going to play at MSG for this one as part of the CBS Sports Classic. This is one of the hardest teams to project in college basketball, in my opinion. They're ranked lower than I expected, 43 in Ken Palm, 23 in Bart Torvik. The names, though, are off the charts. They've got some good names on this roster. Andrew Carr. Shh, we don't talk about him here. If you know, you know. Jackson Robinson, Kobe Bray, Lamont Butler, Otegwa Owa, Brandon Garrison. I think the talent profile is better for Kentucky. It is a revenge game for Joel Justice, for Aaron Bradshaw. Do you believe in Mark Pope? If you do, you believe Kentucky's going to win this game. If you don't, you probably believe Ohio State's going to win this game. This is going to be a team that needs to mesh, just like Ohio State. This could be really ugly. This could be 90 to 86 final. I have no idea. Although it feels like the CBS Sports Classic games, well, not last year, certainly not last year against UCLA, but the Kentucky game, North Carolina games, we see some high-scoring games in the CBS Sports Classic, overtime games, stuff like that. I do have Ohio State dropping this one to Kentucky. I think there's just too much firepower on this Kentucky team, and if Mark Pope is worth is worth what? The investment, I guess I'll say, because the other saying is not coming to mind. If he's worth it, he'll figure out which 5 players should be on the floor for the most amount of time, and they'll pick up the win. Then Ohio State closes the calendar year against Indiana State. How the mighty have fallen. Poor Indiana State, NIT hero last season. Fans clamoring for them to be in the NCAA tournament. On what merit? And they would say, because I feel unique saying it. And then I would say, okay, please go scream into a trash can. They're ranked 157th in Ken Palm, 186th in Bart Torvik this season. Ryan Conwell, goodbye. Robbie Avila, goodbye. Isaiah Swope, goodbye. Jason Kent, goodbye. Julian Larry, goodbye. Those are the 5 top leading scorers for Indiana State last year, 2 of which are going to play for Texas against Ohio State. All those guys scored in double digits. All those guys leading scores, top 5 scores for Indiana State. They're all gone, playing for different teams this upcoming season. I have trouble believing Ohio State loses this game, which means heading into January, the Buckeyes are going to be 9-4, according to me. All right, getting into January, they got Michigan State to kick off the new year. Michigan State's 35th in Ken Palm, 18th in Bart Torvik. Biggest question is, can Ohio State's style of play, can that win? Can that win in terms of not can it beat teams, but can that be the style that dominates in a game? Can you force Michigan State to run up and down the floor? And can you stay away from Michigan State guarding you in the half court? That's the biggest question for basically any game in the Big Ten this season, other than maybe like Nebraska or something. Jaden Akins, he's going to be a focal point. He's one of the best players in the Big Ten in my eyes. You also wonder how much of a factor Xavier Booker is going to be in year 2 with Michigan State. If Booker takes a leap, this could potentially be a really, really good team. I think it starts with Jaden Akins for Michigan State. But outside of that, I mean, this is a winnable game for Ohio State. Something tells me the Buckeyes are going to lose this game. So I've got Michigan State winning this one at home in Columbus. Then the Buckeyes are going to take on Minnesota, those Golden Gophers. I was looking at Michigan State's numbers, and I was going to say, in what world is Minnesota rated this high? They're not rated that high. So look, I hate to just assume Ohio State's going to go to Minnesota and win outright with ease. They lost to Minnesota last year after upsetting Purdue in that huge win, and they've lost in Minneapolis in 4 of the last 5 games Ohio State's played. Over the last 10 overall, it's split down the middle, 5-5. None of that matters for this game. Obviously, still, I'm going to take Ohio State against a team that was in a tier all by itself in the basement of the Big Ten when we did the schedule preview for the Big Ten. No team is expected to be anywhere near as bad as Minnesota this year. Ohio State needs to win this game. I'm going to take the Buckeyes to win. May I take a sip for a second? You don't get to control that, so Mm. Mm-mm-mm. Ohio State basketball is about 3 days away, folks. All right, let's go to Oregon. Well, we're not going to go to Oregon. Oregon's going to come to us. Come to Columbus. I'm not a part of the team. So I can't keep myself from being high on Oregon. Sorry, sue me. I can't do it. I think Oregon's going to be really good this year. They're 29th in Ken Baum. They're 40th in Bart Torvik. This is a really, really experienced team that hit its stride late in the year last year. They go out and did they win the Pac-12 title game? The last one ever? They may have. They were at least in the championship for that. And then they make it into the NCAA tournament as well. One of those bid stealers, not from Ohio State, but from like an Indiana State, for example, maybe in Oklahoma. Experienced team. They get really hot last year. They return a bunch of that this season. Jackson Shellstad back. TJ Bamba back. They should lead the way. They've got a bunch of guys who can score, though. Great size on this team as well. So this is going to be a tough matchup for Ohio State. I'm still going to take the Buckeyes to win this one. That's going to be a marquee win for Ohio State, especially early in Big Ten play. Buckeyes need to pick up a win like that, and they're going to get it over Oregon. Then they've got to go to Wisconsin. Wisconsin is 47th in Ken Palm, 40th in Bart Torvik. Ohio State is 3-7 in the last 10 playing Wisconsin. They've lost 2 in a row. The last Chris Holtmann ejection came against Wisconsin at the shot. I was there. Ohio State's also 2-5 in their last 7 going to Wisconsin. Fun fact, 32-32 all-time series, according to, I think, the Ohio State website I was looking at. But it doesn't matter. You can go to Ohio State website. You'll see some numbers. You go to the Wisconsin website. You'll see different numbers. That's true for every opponent. I don't know how we can't get this right. Wisconsin has lost Chucky Hepburn. They've lost AJ Storr. You get Max Claismet back. You get Stephen Crowell back. You get John Blackwell back. This game feels like a rock fight. I think the first team to 60 wins, and I think Wisconsin's going to be the first team to 60 in this one. I've got the Buckeyes dropping this game to the Badgers. Then is a big one against Indiana. This is a home game. It's a Friday night. I don't think I'm going to be there for that game. I could be. I might be. But I don't think that's one of the games that I'm scheduled to go to as of now. It's going to be a big game. And the question for Indiana is, can they shoot? Can Indiana shoot the basketball? Can they space the floor? They picked up Miles Rice, Omar Ballo, Kanan Carlisle, and Luke Goody. Luke Goody is a guy, obviously, we know who can shoot, know him well from being at Illinois. You still have got Malik Renew. You've still got Trey Galloway. You've got Mackenzie Mbako heading into his second season. I don't know what it is about me. I just can't believe in Mike Woodson. He's taken in 3 years in Indiana, he's taken his team to 19 to 23 wins in each of those 3 seasons. But Ohio State will not be contributing to that. And this night, I've got the Buckeyes winning on a big Friday night game on Fox for the entire world to see. Ohio State picking up a huge win against Indiana. Then the Buckeyes are going to travel to, is it West Lafayette? Yeah, it's West Lafayette to take on Purdue, top 10 in Ken Palm, top 20 in Bart Torvik. Braden Smith, if you're at Ohio State, he would not be an All-American player. I'm just going to say it. He gets the credit of being the perceived best player on Purdue, so he gets to be the unanimous All Big Ten Player of the Year selection, whatever. And he also gets to be, I don't know, All-American conversation for some reason. I'm not here for that. He averaged 12 points per game last year. He's not going to be a real NBA player. I'm not too threatened by Braden Smith, but this is still college basketball. It's a college basketball team, and it's a good college basketball team. You don't need a bunch of NBA players to be good at college basketball, I guess. You're led by Matt Painter. You're returning Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, Trey Kaufman-Renn. Caleb Furst is back. Miles Colvin, I think he'll take a step this season as well. Who is this team without Zach Edey? That's a real question for Purdue this year. Will Daniel Jacobson, 7'3", he can actually hit threes, allegedly. Will he get real playing time? A lot of questions I have about Purdue. I'm going to project Ohio State loses to Purdue in this one. Ohio State has lost its last 4 in West Lafayette and lost 6 of its last 7 there as well. I think that trend continues. The Buckeyes lose to Purdue. Then they're going to go take on Iowa. Iowa, 31st in Ken Palm, right behind Ohio State, who is 30th right now, and 43rd in Bart Torvik. Offensively, you know what you're getting with Iowa. They're going to score a lot. Peyton Sandford is going to lead the way there. I think you can make a better case for Peyton Sandford being an All-American than Braden Smith, but this isn't an Iowa propaganda show, so I'm not going to do that. However, he averaged 16 points per game, 7 rebounds per game last season for the Hawkeyes. He shot 45% from the field, 38% from the three-point line. Come on. I'm not going to just go fanboy over Peyton Sandford, but it's really because of Braden Smith is why I'm saying this. All of the last 4 games, by the way, have been away from Columbus, either in a Big Ten tournament game or at Iowa. And even when Ohio State has lost to Iowa recently, it's felt close. It's felt like they've been right there. And for that reason, this game is in Columbus. I'm going to take the Buckeyes to win. Not just for that reason, but for many reasons. I've got the Buckeyes winning this one. Then they've got to go to Penn State. And this is the wrong sheet that I have. All right, everyone. Please hold. Please hold. I'm still looking. I'm looking. Where did that sheet go? I'm missing an entire page of show notes. What the crap is that, man? All right. Back to the laptop, I guess. These notes are from the last show. That's just stupid. Okay, printer. I'll be having it out with my printer later. All right, let me jump down to Penn State, get my notes up for that. Here we go. Don't worry. I'm going to get it. You're nervous. That's fine. Okay, here we go. All right, Penn State. So don't mistake this for a trap game. First of all, Ohio State will have Illinois next. They're playing at Rec Hall. That's a big deal for Penn State, apparently. And that's where Penn State upset Illinois last year as well. Penn State is outside the top 50 in KenPom and Bart Torvik ratings. It looks like Freddie DeLone is going to play with Ace Baldwin Jr. at the same time. I like their backcourt a lot. This is just not a game you can lose, and I don't think they will. Ohio State will win this game. They'll finish January 5-3, and at the end of January, they're going to be 14-7 and 6-4, according to me. Will you take that? That's a good question. If I posted that on Twitter and posted a poll, I feel like most people would be like, yeah, that's pretty good. So, sorry, if you're listening on podcast, I should probably warn you when I'm about to take a sip so you know I'm not dead. All right, so we get into February. Ohio State takes on Illinois. Only 2 months to go here, all right? 14-7 right now. You got a lot of promise. Got a lot of excitement around the program. I think about this point. At this point, you're thinking, hey, this team could be an NCAA tournament team. So let's find out. Against Illinois. Illinois, top 25 in KenPom and in Bart Torvik. This is going to be one of the harder games on the schedule. Illinois' got Kylan Boswell. They've got Ty Rogers. OSU has actually enjoyed playing Illinois, I think, a little bit, even in Champaign. They've done pretty well over the past few years. They had that huge win 2 seasons ago at home where Bryce Sensabaugh baptized a former Illinois player as well, Matthew Meyer, who knows really, or is it Michael? Now I'm all kinds of confused. I'm not gonna try to guess. And Halloween is over after all. So other than Purdue, you don't have to travel to a tier 1 opponent. If you want to know what a tier 1 opponent is, go back and listen to the schedule preview where we talked Big Ten specifically. Other than Purdue, Illinois is your only away game against a tier 1 opponent until very late in February. This is one of the most turned over rosters in the sport, so it's a very, very hard team to project. I do have Ohio State losing to Illinois in this one to kick off February. Then you go to Maryland. So Ohio State already won that game against Maryland in December. I think they split with Maryland. This is a very competitive conference. Weird things happen. I'm going to project another weird thing to happen here in a few games. I've got Ohio State losing to Maryland. Then the Buckeyes host Nebraska. Nebraska 45th in Bart Torvik, 57th in KenPom. Rink Mast is out for the season. That really hurts Nebraska, not just because he's a good player, but it hurts their style of play as well, I think, a lot. Bryce Williams, he should be able to shoulder the load. Not enough, though. Not enough in a game against Ohio State. I've got the Buckeyes winning this game. We're in the green zone, by the way. Maryland to Northwestern. I called this the green zone in the conference schedule preview episode. Buckeyes have got to pick up some wins here. So they lose to Maryland. They beat Nebraska. Then they've got Washington. Washington is just outside the top 70 in both KenPom and Bart Torvik. They return just 8.8% of possession minutes from a season ago. You probably know Gray Osabor. He transferred from BYU, or maybe I'm completely off on that. And you probably know the name DJ Davis as well. Outside of that, there's not a lot of talent there at Washington. The bench feels like a major concern. I've got Ohio State going on and beating Washington at home. And then it is the game of all games when Ohio State takes on Michigan at the Shot. This is going to be a huge game environment wise in terms of positioning in the Big Ten. Who's going to prove they're the big dog between Jake Diebler and Dusty May? Roddy Gale returning to Columbus. A lot of energy. Columbus. A lot of energy in this one. I'm not picking against Ohio State when they play Michigan. I've got the Buckeyes winning this game. Speaking of weird, Ohio State is going to face Northwestern at home. Northwestern is not a pushover anymore, okay? Chris Collins has done a good job there with the Wildcats. They're 51st in Ken Palm, 46th in Bart Torvik. Brooks Barnheiser is better than Braden Smith. I'm telling you, he could be an NBA player. You've got some good help there with Ty Berry. We know what Matthew Nicholson is. Is this a trap game? 100% this is a trap game. This is 10 out of 10. Bells, whistles, alarms, everything going off because you're hosting Northwestern. So that feels a little less trappy than going on the road. But maybe it's more trappy because it feels less trappy. How about that? You're facing a very good head coach who's gotten a lot out of his team over the past few years. They've overperformed. You've got an experienced roster. You've got Brooks Barnheiser who can hit threes and be very, very, very good for you. Matthew Nicholson, is he going to force you and is Northwestern going to force you to slow down and not play that high tempo game that you want to play? And Ohio State is going to be looking ahead. They got to travel all the way out west. They got to go to LA. They got to take on UCLA and USC in the next two games for a big road trip. So for that reason, I'm going to take Ohio State to drop this one to Northwestern. And then the Buckeyes travel to UCLA. And this is thankfully when my notes pick up again. Partially, we're kind of cut off here on this page. We got UCLA ranked right now 28 in Ken Palm, 24 in Bart Torvik. This should be a really solid team all around, I think, at UCLA. They've got Lazar Stefanovic coming back, Sebastian Mack entering his sophomore season, Kobe Johnson transfers in. Ohio State won 67-70 last year in a game with 41 combined fouls. What does that have to do with this season? Well, literally nothing. It's just worth mentioning. Mick Cronin is an excellent coach. It's going to be an unknown environment for Ohio State. I've got the Buckeyes dropping this one to UCLA. This will be their second loss in a row during this stretch. And then they'll go take on USC, who is ranked 50-ish in Ken Palm and Bart Torvik. Whole bunch of seniors on this team, along with Desmond Claude. Can Eric Musselman, can he fix this program in 1 year? That's the question. Well, 20 plus wins in year one at Nevada, 20 plus wins in year one at Arkansas. You like the chances there for USC. I think that the general public is too low on USC. I think this is a really tough stretch for Ohio State to go all the way out west. This is going to be the first point in the year where I've got them losing 3 games in a row. You're going to finish February kind of on a down note, which is not where you want to be heading into March. Most important basketball is played in March. I've got Ohio State losing this game, finishing in February 3-5. That'll bring them to 17-12, 9-9. You are firmly a bubble team heading into March. Now, pause for a second. Firmly a bubble team heading into March. I know there's a lot of excitement around this team. I've been really positive. I feel like I've talked enough about, the negatives that could be present on this team. Will it mesh? Will Ohio State be able to play its style in the Big Ten? Will the three-point shooting be good enough? Will the defense be good enough? All that aside, if a year ago, not even a year ago, let's go to last February when Ohio State lost to Wisconsin. Let's go to, I guess, March when Jake Diebler takes over the team. The Buckeyes are playing better. If I would have told you heading into next March, this would be a team that's 17-12 and 9-9 in conference, would you complain about that? I don't think so. They're a bubble team. They're on the bubble. They're on bubble watch, but right now they're inside the bubble. And the past few years, they haven't even been on the bubble. And when they've been kind of on the bubble, like you're an Ohio State fan and you're kind of wish casting them onto the bubble, they're way outside the bubble. This year, they're not just on the bubble, they're inside the bubble heading into March. Okay, 2 games in March. You got Nebraska and you've got Indiana. So against Nebraska, I've got to win at home. They're going to sweep Nebraska. Against Indiana on the road to close its regular season, I've got a loss. That's a split with Indiana. So That said, let's take a deep breath. My final record for Ohio State, my projection in the regular season, I need to sip again, okay? Then I'm going to tell you it. 18-13 and 10-10 in the Big Ten. This resume, now Bart Torvik, this is where this website is really cool. You can do this with a free account, or just you don't even need an account to do this. You can go in and you can go tell Bart Torvik, hey, these are the games Ohio State's going to win. You can say Ohio State, you can say win, loss, also something with covering the spread, which I don't really understand that, but whatever, maybe it matters. You can go do that, and then Bart Torvik, along with all the other analytics it has baked into all its other teams, it's going to simulate the entire season. So with this, Ohio State would be 6-9 in quad one. They'd be 6-3 in quad two. They'd have 0 quad three and quad four losses. That's a really, really good resume. At that point, without any Big Ten tournament games played, Ohio State would be an 8 seed in the NCAA tournament this upcoming year, which is, that feels really comfortable to me. That's where I would expect them to be based on it felt good. My gut about this team is about an 8 or a 9 seed potentially. And to go through the schedule and then Bart Torvik say you're an 8 seed, I'm like, okay, that feels right. So now I've got them in the Big Ten tournament. I'm going to say 2 wins in the Big Ten tournament based on what Bart Torvik gave back to me. I said, hey, they'll win 2 games and they'll lose the next team. I don't remember who those teams were. That was my guess. That gets you to 20-14 overall. Bart Torvik would project a matchup with Wake Forest in the first round and then Iowa State in the second round as well. So NCAA tournament hopes so far away. There's no skill in projecting this. I could see 2 wins in the Big Ten tournament, 1 win in the NCAA tournament, a 20-win season for Ohio State, and you're on the right trajectory for the Buckeyes. And that's what I think this first year is all about. It's establishing that this program is about winning again, which Jake Tiebler has talked about a lot. You really didn't hear that a lot from Chris Holtmann, which was a little odd. This is, it's paramount for Ohio State to believe that it can win this season. And I believe that it believes that it can win this season. So I've got Ohio State. I've got them at 20-13 or actually it would be 20-14 would be the record in the NCAA tournament. And then they'll win one to bring them to 21-14. They finish here 21-15 with a loss in the round of 32. Who knows? Maybe they win. There's no skill in projecting it again, but that's what I would expect for Ohio State this season. 20-win team, 8 seed in the NCAA tournament, 10-10. Is that right? Yeah, 10-10 in the Big Ten Conference. Okay, let's get to some superlatives now. I told you this show is packed. I've got a lot of sheets of paper still left here. I'm going to try to run through this pretty quickly. All right. Superlatives for the team. Didn't do this last year. Gonna do this season because I think it's fun. And if you're listening on podcast, we're close enough for me to tell you this. It should do good numbers on Twitter. And that's really all that matters. Okay. So best overall player is Bruce Thornton. Do I really need to give any additional context? No, I don't think so. Best offensive player, Bruce Thornton. Bruce Thornton, 16 points per game last season, 5 assists per game. His 3-point numbers, I think, are going to increase at least a little bit this season, and he can score anywhere on the floor. He can pass. He can score. He can handle the ball. He can score from anywhere. Bruce Thornton is your best offensive player. Best defensive player, I'm going to take Micah Parrish. I have no intel on this. I'm not saying that I'm hearing a lot of good things about Micah Parrish defensively, so this could be completely wrong, but his 1.7 steals per 40 minutes last year were 90th percentile. He had a .59 personal foul efficiency. That's pretty good. He's produced defensively all the way back to being at Oakland. He's got good size, good length. Can he block shots this season? Can you get a few blocks every couple of games from Micah Parrish? If so, that's a really, really good complete defender. Defensive rebounding numbers, okay. I'm going to say on ball defense, off ball defense. Are you stopping people from scoring? Micah Parrish is going to be your most trustworthy player in that regard. All right, best shooter is Junie Mobley. Best shooter on this team should be Junie Mobley. You know the awards that he got in high school. I have heard phenomenal things about his shot. heading into Columbus at Ohio State. Judy Mobley is going to be your best shooter on the team this year. I'm going to call that right now. Best finisher on the team, Bruce Thornton. So I wanted to take Meechie Johnson. I looked into the numbers. They're just not good enough for me to take Meechie, even though he's very good downhill. He's very fast downhill. It's still Bruce Thornton. He was 71% at the rim last season, 72% the season before that as a freshman. Bruce Thornton, again, you're going to hear that name a lot this year. Best passer. Speaking of names you're going to hear a lot this year, it's Bruce Thornton. 16% assist rate last season. 5 assists per game. Now he gets to play with Meechie. He should have. He should be on a team with better spacing and have the opportunity to have more assists. Simply, he takes care of the ball. He doesn't turn the ball over. Bruce Thornton is your best passer. Your best rebounder this year is going to be Sean Stewart. Not a lot of love in the front court. Sean Stewart should be your best rebounder. He had a 19.5 offensive rebound rate last season with Duke. That was 100 percentile in college basketball. Not to be outdone, 25.1% defensive rebound rate, and that was 97th percentile in college basketball last season. Sean Stewart can jump out of the gym. He's going to be your best rebounder this season. Best role player is going to be Quez Glover. He's got a lot of experience. He's going to play a lot this year as well. He'll be the first off the bench, I believe, in the backcourt. And in his last healthy season, that was at Samford, he averaged 24 points for 40 minutes. We know he can score. I'm going to take Quez Glover to be your best role player this season. Sadly, the name of Devin Royal will not be getting a superlative. This was the one that I thought he would win. Once Ohio State landed Quez Glover, once I learned some things, I'm taking Quez Glover to be the best role player. Your crowd pleaser. The crowd pleaser superlative is going to be Sean Stewart. He can dunk. He can finish lobs. He can finish the alley-oops. He can jump out of the gym. He's going to block a bunch of shots. He's going to be the one who's getting fans out of their seats this season, I think, when he's playing in Columbus. Your best rim protector is going to be Aaron Bradshaw. He's not Felix Okpara in any measure, but 5.4 block rate was pretty good last season. He's your best rim protector. Your best playmaker, Bruce Thornton. Moving on. X Factor. Now, by X Factor, I mean if this player can play 90th percentile of his expectation this season, it lifts Ohio State the most. And I think that's Judy Mobley. If Judy Mobley can shoot the 3 ball really well, if he can score, if he can be Tayson Chapman, I don't want to talk poorly about a young man who's still on the team, going to be out for the year with an ACL. Tayson Chapman would come in last year. He was very timid for most of the year, started to hit some threes later on down the stretch of the season with Jake Diebler throwing him in the lineup. If you can get much more of a Bryce Sensabaugh or Malachi Branham type of freshman season out of Judy Mobley and away from a Tayson Chapman type of production, this team could be really, really good. Sleeper on the team is Quez Glover. I've talked about it enough. No one knows who Quez Glover is. You're gonna by the end of the year. Most athletic is Sean Stewart. He broke Zion Williamson's vertical record at Duke. And your leader is Bruce Thornton. All right. Bold prediction. I got a bold prediction. Hold up. Is this Darryn Peterson news? Okay. You are witnessing, not live, because this show isn't live. I've received a text about Darryn Peterson, and because we're 48 minutes into this show, I'm not going to tweet this out. This is buried in a podcast, so I'm fine with saying it. I think the decision has been made for Darryn Peterson. I think it's final. I think Ohio State worked hard. I think he's going to Kansas. And that's that. Sorry. All right. Bold prediction. And I'm saying I think. I'm not projecting, not predicting. I'm not putting a crystal ball out there. But this individual, who I had the ability to talk with, is usually doesn't lead me astray in terms of how he's feeling about things. So there's that. All right. Bold prediction. I got one bold prediction for you this year. My bold prediction is that Judy Mobley. Now, okay, first of all, bold predictions are hard. They're impossible to win. And I'm going to say this. You're going to say, well, that's not that bold. And I'm going to say, shut up. Okay. Judy Mobley gets the second all time in Ohio State history of 3-pointers made by a freshman. So D'Angelo Russell has the record at 95. Judy Mobley is going to need an injury probably to Bruce Thornton or Michi Johnson, like for an entire season, which I would never wish that upon them. And I'm knocking on wood on my desk right now. Let's hope that doesn't happen. That's what he would need in order to hit 95. Jaquel Foster made 62, I think, in 05 or 06. I think 06. And Bryce Sensabaugh made 60 in his freshman season, 2 years ago? So in 31 games, just to get to 62 at Jaquel Foster, he would need to make 2 per game. 31 regular season games. Can you make 2 per game? I think absolutely he can do that. You're going to have Big Ten tournament and you're going to have postseason play, whether that's the NCAA tournament or definitely the NIT. Ohio State will easily be there. Hopefully not, but they'll easily be there if needed. Junie Mobley is going to hit that number. Jake Diebler's pace of play is going to give more shots to Junie Mobley as well. The question for him is, can he defensively improve enough to where he can be trusted to be on the floor for an extended period of time? If so, maybe he's getting close to that D'Angelo Russell number. I think Junie Mobley is going to be second all time in 3-point shots to close this season. 3-point shots made in Ohio State history as a freshman. All right, let's go national now. Let's go national. I got some All-Americans. I got some Big Ten award winners. I got a Big Ten champion. I got a Final Four, and I got a national champ. And there's no skill in predicting this, but hey, content is content. All right, All-Americans, I got Mark Sears from Alabama. We saw him last year. We saw how good he was at Alabama. I thought he'd be in the NBA this year. Shows how well I know how to project NBA talent. And look, it's 51% from the field last year, 44% from the three-point line, 24 points per game in last year's tournament. Alabama should be winning a bunch of games this year with Nate Oates. Even if they can't play defense, their offense should be good enough. I've got Mark Sears there. Wade Taylor, you know the name, Texas A&M, 3-time All-SEC player. He should be 4-time by the time this season is over. He's going to score 30 points multiple times this year. He might even touch 40. He can distribute the ball as well. Texas A&M should be a good team this year. I got Wade Taylor. Weird names. I got weird names on here, all right? I don't like being chalky at all. Norchad Omier over at Baylor. He's had a double-double in every year of his college career. Transfers there from Miami. ... Maybe talking about Baylor later on in the show. Ryan Kalkbrenner, also an All-American. He just keeps winning Big East Defensive Player of the Year. He's going to have more opportunity to get shots up again this season. He can score from many different places on the floor. Ryan Kalkbrenner should be really good with Creighton this year. I've got him as an All-American. And then old friend Hunter Dickinson. He averaged a double-double again last year. He scores from deep. He scores in the paint. Pause. Kansas is going to be good this year. Give me Hunter Dickinson. All right, all Big Ten players. I'm putting Braden Smith in there because, well, we know he's going to get the votes. So there's that. Jaden Akins is a player I believe is actually good. Along with him, Ace Bailey, freshman from Rutgers. I've got Peyton Sanford as well, of course. We might have to start a little fan club for Peyton Sanford. I think that he could be the best player in the Big Ten this year. And last but not least, yes, Bruce Thornton. I think the scoring production there, it's going to be there. It's going to be the assist numbers as well. It's going to help them get there. Ohio State should have more attention on it this year. I've got Bruce Thornton being first team All Big Ten. And your winner of the Big Ten is going to be UCLA. I think Mick Cronin has enough talent there. He's going to turn this team around after one poor year last year. I think UCLA in a hodgepodge of weird Big Ten play, I think they will come out on top in the Big Ten this season. All right, Final Four and national champ. And guess what? I've made it to the final, not just the final page, but the final half of my page. So I'm going to fold it here. And let's talk about the Final Four. 4 teams can make it to the Final Four, so I've got 4 teams predicted to make it. How about that? Duke. For the second year in a row, I'm taking Duke to make it to the Final Four. Hopefully they can prove me right. This might be the most complete team in the nation. They might be. Cooper Flagg, he's your freshman phenom. Tyrese Proctor is kind of the homegrown star. You bring in Mason Gillis from Purdue. Top to bottom, this is a very good team. I think Duke will be in the Final Four. I also think Kansas is going to be in the Final Four. This is a get-back year for them. Dwan Harris Jr., Hunter Dickinson, DJ Adams, all back this upcoming year for Kansas. They also add AJ Storr. They add Rylan Griffin from Alabama, among others. I think Kansas has the most talented roster in basketball. I believe it's going to get even more talented next season with a good freshman there, top 3 freshman. And this is a get-back year for Kansas. Bad year last year. They did not perform to expectations, dealt with injuries. Really, really good coach under Bill Self there. I think Kansas goes to the Final Four. Speaking of the Big 12, I got Baylor in the Final Four. I'm not going chalky here. I'm not going chalky. Last year I picked Duke, Marquette, Michigan State, and Texas A&M. Is that chalky to you? Yeah, I didn't think so. I'm not picking 4 blue bloods. That's stupid. It never goes that way. So I got Baylor. They pick up Jeremy Roach from Duke. They add freshman VJ Edgecombe. He's going to be a superstar there at Baylor. This is a winning program, a really, really good head coach there at Baylor. So I've got the Bears going to the Final Four. And last but not least, how about Marquette? Cam Jones, David Joplin, Stevie Mitchell, all back. Cam Jones, a really, really good player. A lot of players in this program with a lot of sweat equity as well. Shaka Smart obviously took VCU to a Final Four. He brought Marquette to a Sweet 16 for the first time in over a decade. I think he's going to take Marquette to the Final Four this year. And last but not least, my national title selection for this upcoming season. This is going to be an interesting storyline, to say the least. I've got Kansas winning the national title over Baylor. So it'll be a Big 12 matchup. Great story. Lots of fun. Whatever. No skill in predicting it. No money being put on any of these predictions, but I've got Kansas winning the national title. And we stack our papers and we say, good job for being done in under an hour. All right. I am way late in getting done with this show. It's been a busy week, all right? And I was kind of holding out hope that I'd get some kind of answers on Darryn Peterson. The one answer I got wasn't the greatest during this show. Just, you know what? I'm going to text back and just try to see if I can get any more info. If you're curious, DM me on Twitter. I'm not going to post anything. DM me on Twitter. I'll tell you for free what info I get, if any. All right. Here's the thing. I need you to be at the Views from the Shot first ever live show when we do the Texas preview on Sunday. That's going to be at 7 Eastern. It's already there on YouTube. You can like the video right now and you can get notified. Click the bell. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you do that right once this video is over. I need you there. It's a huge deal to have you there. Please be there. Let's watch it. This will be recorded, so it'll be posted on YouTube after. I'll post it on podcast as well, but if you can make it Sunday at 7 Eastern, please do. 7 p.m. Eastern. Ohio State basketball is almost freaking here. These papers, this game is not played on paper. The game is played, well, it's played on paper, comes from trees, and the hardwood also. The playing surface comes from trees as well. So partially it is played on paper, but in reality, it's not. You play the game. You throw out the numbers, you throw out the paper, you throw out the stats. We're going to find out who this Ohio State basketball team is in just a few days. Can't wait to cover it with you. We'll be live on Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern. And then, you know what? We're going to be live again sometime after midnight. We'll go to work the next day and we're going to feel awful. But that's life as an Ohio State basketball player because we have to play freaking Texas and Las freaking Vegas. Why? We'll be there. We'll be live to react to the show to react to the game on Monday night as well. If you can't make it, if you want to go to bed, please do. That'll be posted on podcast and on YouTube on Tuesday morning as well. All right. I appreciate you listening to today's show. I appreciate you being here this entire offseason. It's been so fun. I couldn't wait for the regular season to get here. And then all of a sudden it flew by. We were in April and now all of a sudden it's November. Can't wait. Bundle up. Stay warm this weekend. Get your Buckeye hoodie and throw the jersey on top of it, and we will be ready to play. Ohio State basketball will take on Texas on Monday. Until next time, I appreciate you listening to today's show. I'm going to shut up before you shut me off. Go Bucs.